This is the GTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose. The Pan American Health Organization says the number of dengue cases in the Americas, including the Caribbean, increased fivefold between 2003 and 2013. According to recent data between 2009 and 2012, over 1 million cases were reported annually on average, with more than 33,900 severe cases and 835 deaths. PAHO said last year was one of the worst years for dengue in the hemisphere's history, with 2.3 million cases, including 37,000 severe cases and 1,200 deaths. Despite the country's efforts to control the disease, PAHO warned that dengue continues to spread, as controlling the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which transmits the disease, is a great challenge. PAHO's regional advisor, Jose Luis San Martin, said Aedes aegypti is an urban mosquito that lives in our homes, which means we have to eliminate its breeding sites to prevent it from reproducing. He emphasized that the fewer infected Aedes mosquitoes that are circulating, the fewer people will be at risk of being bitten and contracting the disease. Aedes aegypti also transmits the chikungunya and yellow fever viruses. St. Lucia health officials met with community representatives as the island continues its national campaign to tackle vector-borne illnesses. Health Minister Alvina Reynolds says government is doing the best it can, but needs the help of the public to ensure the campaign is successful. More in this report from Alison Kentish of HTS News Force.
The Ministry of Health has made vector control a priority as it seeks to tackle serious but preventable vector-borne illnesses such as dengue and chikungunya. Health officials say everyone has a role to play in the fight against vector-borne illnesses, and on Monday, June 2nd, they met with representatives of town and village councils to ensure that community-based bodies are part of the National Vector Control Campaign. Health Minister Alvina Reynolds says Monday's meeting was a call to action, with health officials seeking the commitment of participants to cleaning up communities across St. Lucia and helping to create environmental behavior change.
We have a serious problem with vector-borne diseases. The ministry is doing all it possibly can for the people of St. Lucia, but we want to see a little more of with the people of St. Lucia. We want to see that partnership, that each person in this country takes responsibility for their space for prevention of diseases and also to manage those diseases, to reduce in the breeding space, the breeding grounds that we see in this country. It is a simple thing that doesn't cost us anything at all.
Chief Environmental Health Officer Wen Gabriel says the town and village council representatives are key players in the fight against vector-borne illnesses.
They play a very important role in their communities, and at this point in the fight against these diseases, we think it is essential that we mobilize these communities, that we engage them in awareness activities in order that we can be effective against these diseases.
Natasha Charles is the Executive Officer at the VA4 North Constituency Council. She says the council is taking a proactive approach to staving off vector-borne illnesses with a focus on public education and sensitization.
Well, we have already started the cleanup campaign. The sanitation workers are working in the various communities in the constituency. Right now we cleaning. We also have going to house. We know that the schools, we have partnered with the schools. We have gone into the schools, educating all of the schools in the constituency, all the children, all of the different grades. And basically what we believe is that the more education that people have about it, the more it is that they can work with us and everybody can get on board in terms of curbing the problem that we have.
The importance of sustained commitment to the eradication of vector-borne illnesses was underscored by the World Health Organization for the 2014 World Health Day in April. The theme, Small Bites, Big Threats, sought to highlight the long-term social and economic challenges posed to humans by mosquitoes and other vectors. Locally, health officials say partnerships between the ministry and communities are critical to implementing a comprehensive vector management policy. Alison Kentish, HTS News Force.
A new trial date has been set for former Turks and Caicos Premier Michael Misick and 10 other defendants fingered in widespread corruption under Misick's administration. Justice Paul Harrison has set October 6th this year for the start of the trial. On June 23rd, the judge will deliver his judgment on an application for the accused to face a trial by judge instead of a jury. The October trial date, which was initially set for July 7, takes into account any potential appeal of Harrison's judgment. The trial is expected to take up to 5 months. According to TCI Weekly News, Misik's lawyer, Courtney Griffiths, delivered the last of the arguments against the Special Investigation and Prosecution Team application for a bench trial. The former premier also pleaded absolutely 100% not guilty to all 9 charges when they were read to him on Tuesday, May 27, in a Providenciales courtroom. Also appearing in court were Misik's co-defendants, Floyd Hall, McAllister Hanschel, Lillian Boyce, Jeffrey Hall, Clayton Green, Thomas Chal Misik, Lisa Hall, Melbourne Wilson, and Earlson Robinson. While some Caribbean countries continue to struggle to keep their tourism numbers in positive territory, business is booming in Cuba, with the communist country seeing a rise of about 5% in the first 4 months of this year compared to the same period in 2013. According to the National Statistics and Information Office, the Spanish-speaking island welcomed 1.2 million tourists between January and April this year, a figure that exceeded by 60,804 the number of visitors during that period last year. According to Caribbean 360, Canadians continue to outnumber all other visitors to Cuba, with 623,337 arrivals, followed by Germans with 55,238, according to ONEI, which noted that British, French, and Italian tourists were also at the forefront of visitor numbers. Significantly boosting the number of tourist arrivals to Cuba last year were visitors from Argentina, Mexico, Spain, Russia, and Venezuela. Tourism is Cuba's second leading source of foreign revenue, with income of some $1.8 billion in 2013, most of it for accommodation and food, according to official figures. The Trinidad-based Caribbean Airlines Limited, CAL, has announced plans for expanding existing routes to include some destinations in the Caribbean. Caribbean Airlines Senior Marketing Manager Alicia Cabrera said this is one of the things engaging the attention of new Chief Executive Officer Michael DeLolo since his recent appointment. Cabrera was speaking Monday night at the opening event of Caribbean Week, which is organized by the Barbados-based Caribbean Tourism Organization, the CTO. She said Caribbean Airlines is looking at new markets with increased focus on serving all territories in the Caribbean. In the past, LIAT shareholders have publicly expressed the view that the expansion of Caribbean Airlines into the Eastern Caribbean could negatively impact LIAT, but they acknowledge that the removal of Caribbean Airlines fuel subsidy, effective October 1st last year, puts the island-hopping carrier in a better position to compete. For the JTV Caribbean News, Sean Rose.
Coming up next on JTV News. Surprising information about invasive species in the BVI revealed during a panel discussion. BVI TAP hosts its first hotel and restaurant trade show, and the OECS and the BVI launch a 10.6 million euros Global Climate Change Alliance as the BVI gets ready to observe June as Environment Month.